Hi, Carol, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it greatly.
You bet. As I was sharing with you a moment ago, I have been looking so forward to this interview because flowers are one of my favorite things on the planet. And the fact that your work revolves around them and tapping into their essences absolutely fascinates me. So, what I would love to do is for you to just share a little bit with our audience who you are, what your work is, and what got you into it.
Well, thank you. So I primarily focus on flower essences, also known as flower remedies, although I do work with other aspects of nature. Actually, my dissertation, my graduate doctoral degree concentration was nature, trauma, and the soul. So there are lots of different ways, but the flowers are my passion and my love. And so I was first introduced to them 25 years ago when I did an herbal apprenticeship. So my work over time has evolved, and so I've been a practitioner and a user of flower essences for 25 years. I also teach the practitioner programs to become a Bach flower certified practitioner, and I have my own courses. I've taught at medical schools and all sorts. So I have a very long flower essence experience, which we won't take the time to go into now, but that is on my website. But it's my passion of the flowers, being in relationship with the flowers, and just the experiences. And to be honest, when I first tried them, I was pretty skeptical, but it was a very subtle shift in my life that I thought, oh, I have to look more into them. So I kind of say the flowers called me into this path. So much so that I wrote my doctoral dissertation on flower essence users' relationship with nature, and then
So,
took.
so I'm going to step back because a couple things. One is that you said that working with herbs got you into working with flowers. So, speak a little bit to that.
Well, the herbal instructor during this practice during the apprenticeship, each time she introduced a new phase. So herbs and essential oils were part of the program because it was looking at medicinal, culinary, and cosmetic aspects of herbs. So each time she'd introduce something else, and so then one of the sessions she introduced us to flower essences, and then she made up a personalized remedy for us. And I thought, well, this is kind of too good to be true, but I'm going to check it out because, hey, that's what this is about. It's an experiential, opportunity.
Right.
And I had such a very subtle shift and a bigger shift over time that I thought, oh, I need to pay attention to this because it was personal transformation that was very easy, but for me in my situation was very noticeable.
And so, share that with us. So, what was that shift? What were you experiencing?
So the trying to get this as a shorter story, I can go into more detail, but basically one of the flowers that she created in this remedy was cherry plum. And in hindsight, I could see what happened more than at the time. But when certain family members around, I tended to stuff because my sentiments because of expectations. Anyways, so what I realized, so cherry plum, what it's for is for fear of losing control or out of control behaviors. So mine was the fear of misspeaking and creating perhaps a political situation in the family situation that was not warranted or wanted at the time. So it did that. So it helped me shift that. But even more importantly, because I was a stuffer of information, sometimes then when I got stuff too full, I would explode in anger. And so that was that out of behavior experience. So over time, it was greatly modified by using cherry plum. And what's really interesting is my experience is not how cherry plum is recorded as having those kind of experiences. It's more like losing control or being fearful of doing dreadful things. Well, my situation was a lot different, but recently I've read of some situations that describe it as that. So what I've learned over time is I've learned the nuances and facets of the flowers more than just what you read about them from my own personal experience, from the hundreds of students and clients I've worked with over the years. And so, well, they're very easy to work with, and you can learn a lot from a book, but my experience just has more than is a greater depth in the snapshot you'd get in a book. So
And when you say try them, you're not, are you eating the flowers?
typically the most common way of using flower essence is you are ingesting them. And
Okay.
so you do ingest them, but they do work topically, or in fact, you can even mist around you, or for animals, you can mist their bedding. So there are other ways for those that don't want to do that. And the other thing I want to point out is the most common misconception, it's a huge misconception, is that they're not essential oils. And the name kind of may be misleading because flower essence, you would think that, but there's no fragrance to flower essences. It's the energetic pattern of the flower, and that pattern matches our emotions. So we're only looking at emotional and spiritual well-being, and you're choosing the flowers based on where you're out of kilter, because the flower holds the balance state. So when you're out of kilter, you want to move into a more balanced state that the flower holds. And science would now call that resonance, because the flower holds the higher energy pattern. And it's proven that sadness, depression, anger, all those are lower frequency emotions. So it's a process. It may not be immediate, but it's a process to help move in that direction so we can be our best selves.
And is it better for you to create your own flower essences than to go to the store and purchase? I don't even know if you can go to the store and purchase them,
Oh,
can
absolutely. They're very, once you know about them, you see that they're more common
you?
than one thinks.
Okay.
Um, no, it's not better, but it's different. And it also, I've seen some people make flower essences in ways that I don't really think are flower essences. But yes, because in Dr. Bach, the originator in 1930s, he was very clear about sharing how to do it. So people can make their own. I've made my own. I don't tend to use the ones I make with clients, but I appreciate the standardizedness of the purchase, the ones you purchase when
The ones
working
that you
with
can
clients. Yeah.
purchase, actually.
And but there are countless brands because people can make them themselves. We don't even know how many brands there are. I think I had like 45 different brands represented in my dissertation research, and I
Wow.
have like 500 different flower essences, but there are lots of different brands. And I also want to be clear, like the Bach Flower Remedy, that's a system of flower essences, because many companies make, there are many brands of Bach flower remedies. So when I talk about Bach flower remedies, I'm talking about a system. And I
Mm.
tend to use the word the system for all the different types of flower essences out there anyways, rather than brands, because that just has a different connotation for me.
So in the work that you do, are you teaching people how to make it, or you're teaching people how just the world of it and how they can get into it more?
So typically it's my courses are applications and usage and how to select them. And of course, the practitioner course is a 3-tier course. And I teach the intro and the advanced, and then the actual practitioner course, another person teaches. So that you don't have to want to be a practitioner, but people are tending to look at, it's a different way of focus. But I teach that, but I also teach various lengths of workshops, and sometimes topically. Like currently I'm completing a course called Chaos to Calm, Grow Your Resilience with Flower Essences, and addressing our current time and what flower essences. But in
Mhm.
so even in those topical things, and I'll mention some for confidence in a moment, what you choose is what you need in the moment. So it doesn't really matter what the topic is. It's what do you need right now, and choosing the appropriate flower essence. But I
So
also do,
what emotion, when you say need, what emotional shift do you need? Or
well, where are you out of kilter? What's not working for you? Where do you feel like, well, like a real common one right now with COVID, well, not just COVID, but we're feeling it more with COVID, is overwhelm. It's just,
Mm,
and a
mm.
person's competent, but right now there's just too much stuff going on. We're overwhelmed. And right now we're just getting bombarded with one overwhelm after another. So the flower essence for overwhelm is elm. And I like that because if you spell overwhelm, ELM is in the center of it. So my experience of elm is like touching a ground fault switch. So that, we know how to do whatever the task is that's overwhelming us typically. We're just not able to access it. So when I take Elm, it's like, oh yeah, I know what I can do. I can delegate this, or you go through your normal process. So it just helps me break through what needs to happen, what I normally can do. I break through that barrier of doing that. And Elm is one that I typically see. You can see the results quicker than sometimes the others because it's more obvious. Often the results are hard to see, especially if you're not aware, because they're subtle. But when something like that, it's less subtle and you can see it easier.
And do you need to get quiet in order, like, in order to so is it drops? Is it drops of
Yes, yes.
of
Yes.
the essence? So you take explain that a little bit more. So you
So
take the
typically
drop.
a stock, if you go to the store, you'd buy what's a stock bottle. And
Okay.
um, so for a single essence, you would take 2 drops, and you can do it directly in your mouth. They're preserved with, most of them are preserved with brandy, so that's what they'll all taste like. But you can buy them with glycerin so that they're alcohol free, and then that would taste sweet. So you can take it that way, or you can put it in your beverage, or you can, one moment, I didn't have my props ready, I'm sorry.
That's
Apologize for
okay.
that. Or you can have a dropper bottle, and then you can make up your
Okay.
own essence that way. This one I happen to have a spray top on, but you could have a dropper top. So when you make a personalized essence, you can combine 7 of them for what, up to 7. More than that, it kind of muddies the system. So anyway, so then you would take the drops. If you're doing like a personalized remedy for a specific situation, you typically have a reason why you want to address it. So then you would, the suggested usage is 4 drops 4 times a day and as needed, because you can't overtake them. So you just
Okay.
take them as needed. So
So
that
it
is
is a
the most
continual
typical reason.
basis to be able to, I don't even know if I want to use the word feel. I mean, is it something you feel? Is it something like, can you describe that? Like what happens to my body?
So which, before or after?
Like, so if I've been taking them, let's say that I'm doing the number of drops that I need to take, like how, like,
Well,
we have
there's
expectations as
yes,
human
you do. And
beings.
there's a
Yeah.
and it's the thing I love about the system is it's not a one size fits all. It's very all about you personally based. So it all depends is my answer because it does. But what you might notice is that you're no longer triggered, or you're triggered less often. You might smile more. You might sleep better. You might
So it's a process. It's
it
actually
is.
a process.
And as an
Mhm.
example, well, I want to say the other thing is I always encourage clients and students and anybody, when you take them, make note why you're taking them and just jot down. You don't have to journal, but jot down, because it's much easier to see things in retrospect. And you may just, for whatever reason you took it for, you may look back and go, oh, I'm not doing that anymore, or I don't need that anymore. So that's part of the process of doing that.
Well, and
So
I love the whole idea of putting the thought into it, because I mean we're in this instant society, right? I want to take a pill, I want to feel good, like, but it's not like that.
So
It's
as my one, because I said earlier, cherry plum is like you feel like the description is you feel like you're losing control or losing your mind kind of thing. So if I'm at the computer and I have a technical glitch, I'm not very patient with that. I hear myself going, "This is driving me crazy." I go, "Oh, that's the indicator for cherry plum." So I will take either the cherry plum, or it's in Rescue Remedy, which is the flower essence combination that is most well known for emergencies and stress. So if I take that immediately because I'm having that in the moment experience, it dissipates very quickly. But if it's something more
okay.
long term, it is going to be a process. And, but because we're a whole being, even if you're taking a flower for something else, our whole personage gets, is affected by it.
Got it. So what would you say is probably like the best first step, and especially in this area of building confidence, right? That I just want something to make me feel more in control and have power in my day.
Well, I love that because I was just going to say we should mention mention those. So there are 3 flowers I think of off the bat for confidence. But as I said a moment ago, if you're feeling out of kilter, any flower that you need that's going to help move you into greater balance will address that as well. Because if you're in greater balance, you're going to, if you're feeling your best self, you would be feeling more confident. But the first one I want to mention is larch. It's from the larch tree. And larch is for basically when you need confidence. It can be low self-esteem. And so it can be any kind of not feeling confident, but it can also be for those that measure yourself against, you're competent and confident, but you're measuring yourself against somebody else. And so you don't feel
Mm.
confident.
The whole social media
Yes,
scene. Yeah.
exactly. Perfect for that. And
Maybe it's good to do it right before you do social media.
yeah, exactly. And then part in that context, sometimes people don't even try because of that. So that's another application of larch, because why, I'm not going to try because anyways, or fear of failure, because again, they're comparing themselves against other people. So, but if you just need some confidence, larch is very helpful for that. And when I teach,
And
I always,
that's Larch,
yes,
Larch.
larch.
Okay.
And I have pictures if you want. Anyways, so I usually use ways to help people remember. So I think of the little engine that can, I know I can, I know I can, I know I can for that. So larch is helpful for that. Now, often our or lack of self-confidence is our body image or something related to our body. So crabapple flower remedy has many different attributes, but one of them, it was a cleansing flower, but it's also when we have body issues, it can be whatever, not feeling good about ourselves, our weight issues, or, we have a whole long list of body image
Yeah,
issues.
there's a long
Yeah. So
list,
anyways,
depending on the day, right? Yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
exactly. So it also is if you're not feeling clean. So that could be, from being sick or whatever. There's a long list of that as well. But again, you don't have to have all these aspects of the essence, but different nuances of it is when you blow things out of proportion. And I'm not making judgment in this. I'm just trying to paint a picture. But you may have a blemish and or a bad hair day, and you're not willing to go out or do anything because it's just, way too much. And it may not be that anybody else would even notice it, but it's bothering
Right.
you.
Going on.
So,
Yeah.
but anyways, so if the lack of confidence is body image or body related, then I would use crabapple. And the other
Okay.
wonderful thing about flower essences is you can combine any of them, because it might be both, and you might need, both of them, and that would be okay too. So it's just a matter of what you need. And then the third flower essence is really in the indecisive area, but I think it's so important when you're looking at the whole picture. So gentian is about trusting your inner knowing and your intuition. So often, situation, I'm sorry, it's Cerrato. I said the wrong flower because I'm thinking of something else. Cerrato, Cerato. That's a whole different flower. But anyways, the same color, wrong flower. But anyways, so Cerrato, maybe you've been in that situation where you have something and you ask other people for opinions, and you get their opinions, and then you do what they said instead of what you thought. And then at the end you go, oh, I wish I'd done what I thought. It's that kind of thing. So, or it can be that kind of thing. So
So it's
Cerrato,
really trusting yourself, right? I
right.
mean, yeah.
And so when you're trusting yourself, you have more confidence. So it's trusting yourself and tapping into your inner knowing and your intuition. And it really helps you trust your intuition, because in both situations, the more you trust yourself and trust your intuition, the stronger it gets. So Cerrato, I think, while it's in the indecisive category, it really is about confidence, because it's about having confidence in yourself and trusting yourself. Because
And
in that
Cerrado,
situation,
what is this? I'm sorry, what is the Cerrado flower? I've never
it's beautiful. It's originally from the Himalayas.
oh my gosh, that is
It's just a
beautiful.
beautiful flower.
Uh-huh. Now I'm looking at it. And of course, those of you listening on the podcast cannot see what I'm looking at,
Yep.
but I will try to at the very least, get this in the victory letter, and you can see it in that. So you'll be able to see it. So Cerrado, so
Well,
South America.
it's a
That is
beautiful blue, darker than periwinkle flower, 5-petaled flower with a white center. It's a very gentle, beautiful little flower.
can we grow it here
I was
in
going to look
Colorado?
into that, because if you can grow it in the UK, I would think we could. Actually,
Mm,
when I was looking at this morning, I wanted to look that one up myself, because I don't know.
yeah.
And I'm
I'm
not
like, oh,
originally from
grow
Colorado,
it.
so I'm not as versed in this area as I am some others. So, but
Got
I
it.
want to look into that as well myself. So I'll let you know when I find out.
Okay. All right. So those are the ones. What so as has been happening as I've been talking to other experts in the field of nature that work in this, it's I and as they have shared, it's not the easiest path to walk down, because people go, really, this is what you're doing, right? I would love to know, just from a entrepreneurial perspective, for our listeners, what made you go, this is my path and I'm following it? What gave you the confidence to do that?
Well, I have done this at various times in my life before. But given the scenario that we find ourselves in, it's like, okay, I need to go back to doing this. So I've only been in Colorado 3 years. And so I've reestablished doing this for myself. And I've taught all through this time, but I'm just really stepping into it because I'm trusting that intuition, that and that inner knowing that this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
This is
And
the
the
time.
feedback I get from clients and students is very rewarding, because for me it's all about other people. It's empowering other people to be their best. And the flowers, it's such a simple process to do. And Dr. Bach wanted it to be simple. He created it as a simple self-help process. But the advantage of having a practitioner experience, the forest for the trees, it's easier to have someone help you on your own issues. It's always easier to help when you're doing it, find
Always.
whatever somebody else wants. So, and I
Well, and
have
it's such a like it's such a vast, I mean, you think of all the flowers there are in the world and, just really narrowing it down to what is most important for me, or being able to, I mean, I'm fascinated and would love to learn more. And we've talked about this before, but just how to, I mean, like, are there flowers that are poisonous? Are there, like understanding what's the good and what's the bad. And when it comes to that, and especially because we're ingesting it, right? So,
right.
um, so do you do in your courses, do you teach that? Do you teach, like, if I just want to learn the flowers in my garden?
I
Um,
have done workshops, like as an example, when I lived in Flagstaff, Arizona, at their botanical gardens, I did a tour and talked about what of the flowers in there, which ones were for what possibilities. I have done that. When we get back to live classes again, I would love to do a retreat in the flowering time, where not only you do that, but we actually make flower essences. Because in the
mm,
practitioner programs, we don't. And part of that is because we offer them all year and all across, well, the nation, world, whatever. And so that isn't part of the system, but I do know how to do that. I've been taught how to do that. And so it is something that is very doable. So, and the thing I like about customizing my own classes, there's a broader spectrum of things you can do. But yeah, so I do lots of customized classes. So that's one
Beautiful.
can do.
And is it better to have flowers that are coming straight from, just like with food, the freshness of food? Is that, like, if I were to buy, cut flowers in the store versus getting flowers out of my garden, is there a better flower essence that comes out of
So there are
that?
two things. So flower essences you do not want to make from cut flowers. They need to be immediately from the plant. In fact, there's some forms of sort of essences that they don't even cut them off the plant. So because again, it's
Wow.
the energetic property that you're transferring
So it's that energy.
to the water. So and there are different opinions on whether, so the Bach flower remedies are from the UK. That's where Dr. Bach was from. And so many of the flowers we don't grow in the US. Well, some of them didn't even grow in the UK either. But there are multiple systems in the US and all across the world. So you can get indigenous flowers in your system. And there's a debate. Some people think it's better. People think it's, it's a personal opinion. There's not a definitive answer on that.
Mhm.
My personal bias is, well, I'm trained in the Bach flower system in very extensively. I've also taken many practitioner courses of several different North American brands of flower essences. So I've trained across the spectrum. And my personal bias is, I think it's wonderful to start with Dr. Bach's system because it's first, you can get the original intent, but it's also only 38 flowers plus rescue remedy. It's very doable and they're the easiest ones to find. And Dr. Bach's system has very broad definitions for the flowers. Like mimulus is a very easy one to remember. You only need to know two things. One, you're afraid and you know what you're afraid of. So if you can identify your fear, it can be anything. That's mimulus. So then I have found, one of my observations is North American flower essences. Now, you have to remember too, the Bach flowers were created in the 1930s, and this is a generic statement, most of the North American flower essences started in the 1970s forward-ish. So, there are different mindsets and stuff. But anyways, The North American flower essences, in my experience, have narrower descriptors. It's just different. It's not a judgment of it. So as an example, the black cohosh flower essence in the FES system out of California, that would be a fear of abusive relationship.
Hmm.
So it's a much narrower definition. So again, it's not a judgment, it's just a difference. So I have like 500 different flower essences. Do I remember all the other ones? No, because like FES and some of the other brands, they have like 250 to 5 other brands have 500 flowers. And so I'll go, oh, I know there's a flower for that, but I have to look it up, because I can remember 40 in my head easily, but not, 500. So,
Right, right, right.
and there are people creating new flower essences all the time. So
Beautiful. Well, any final words as we wrap up here for our listeners who are listening, thinking, "Oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I should." Like, what would you like
well,
to
a
share?
couple things. Of course, my mind's going, oh, I'd like to say this and this and this. One is the rescue remedy is the most well-known in that remedy, and that's a combination, and it's for stress and emergency. And many people think that's the only one that's out there, but it's good to know that you have the advantage of knowing all 38 is you can personalize it for your needs right now. What's not working for you right now. However, it's a good place to start. And many people use it on their animals, and they're safe to use with animals and plants. And so often children and animals, you can see the changes quicker.
Hmm.
Adults, we built up many more layers of
Yeah,
distraction.
resistance.
Yeah. So that's a good place to start. You really don't have to decide anything with the rescue remedy. You can start there. And then the other thing is, I love helping people with flower essences. So, I have courses, and I can do personal consultations. I do coaching, which I call as a field guide because I like the nature image better. And then I'm starting to create, which we're in the process of now, a series of interviews to answer people's questions, interesting topics, and whatever. So there are lots of avenues to learn more. And then I have a weekly newsletter too that I would love to have people join if they so wish, to learn more, because it's a journey. My experience with the flower essences, they have been my best allies. I like to quote the powder milk biscuits, the fictitious biscuits from Prairie Home Companion. They give the persons the strength to get up and do what needs to be done. I think that's a great descriptor of the flower essences.
Wow. I love that. I love that. Awesome. Carol, this has been fantastic. I want to thank you so much. And where can our listeners find out more about your work?
Thank you very much. So my website is enliven-your-essence.com. And so on that homepage is a place you can opt in for the newsletter, which is a very short weekly newsletter that each week I review a flower essence and some other de-stressing tip for well-being. And it will also have my course schedule and all the other information and how you can contact me. And I would love to hear from people.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity, Sherry. I truly appreciate it.